Long ago, in a village hidden behind the mist of the great blue mountains, there lived a young man named Silas. Silas was known for his incredible talent in crafting clocks, yet he ironically lacked the very thing he measured: patience. He felt that the world was moving too slowly, and he was constantly racing against the sun, desperate to finish his masterpiece before his youth faded away. One evening, Silas heard a legend about the eternal hourglass kept by an old sage in the forbidden forest. They said whoever turned that hourglass could master time itself. Driven by his restless heart, Silas packed his bags, ignoring the warnings of his elders. He believed that with the power of time in his hands, he would never have to wait for anything ever again in his entire life. The forest was a labyrinth of ancient oaks and whispering vines that seemed to pull at Silas's feet. Every minute he spent walking felt like an eternity. He hacked through the bushes with his blade, cursing the slow pace of his journey. His anger grew with every step, and he failed to notice the beautiful glowing flowers or the rhythmic dance of the fireflies that lit his way through the deep darkness. After 3 days of relentless travel, Silas finally reached a clearing where a small, humble hut stood under a giant willow tree. There sat an old man, not with a golden hourglass, but with a simple wooden bowl of water. Silas demanded, "Old man, give me the secret to master time. I have no more seconds to waste on this foolish journey. My life is passing by while I wait for greatness." The hermit looked at Silas with eyes that had seen centuries pass like minutes. He spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. "You seek to master time, but you cannot even master your own breath. Take this bowl. Walk to the waterfall at the top of the hill, fill it, and bring it back without spilling a single drop. Only then will I show you the way to the eternal hourglass." Silas scoffed and snatched the bowl. He ran up the hill, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. He filled the bowl at the roaring waterfall and turned to run back. But in his haste, he tripped over a root, and the water splashed onto the dry earth. He cursed loudly, his face turning red with frustration as he realized he had to start the entire process all over again. After his first failure, Silas felt his blood boiling. He shouted at the wind, blaming the slippery rocks and the uneven path for his mistake. He believed that if he just ran faster, he could beat the leaks in the bowl. He didn't realize that his own chaotic energy was creating the very waves that pushed the water out. He was a prisoner of his own hurry, blinded by his desire for the end. He tried a second time, then a third, and then a fourth. Each time, he sprinted like a madman, and each time, the bowl returned empty. His legs were heavy, and his breath came in ragged gasps. Exhausted, he finally collapsed onto a mossy stone. For the first time in years, Silas sat still, not because he wanted to, but because his body could no longer keep up with his restless mind. As he sat in the silence, he began to hear things he had ignored before. He heard the rhythmic pulse of the waterfall, the soft chirping of a hidden bird, and the gentle sigh of the wind through the willow leaves. He watched a single leaf fall from a tree, drifting slowly, perfectly, without any rush. He realized the forest wasn't slow. It was simply in harmony. He picked up the bowl once more. This time, he didn't run. He walked to the water with a steady heart. As he dipped the bowl into the cool stream, he whispered to himself, "I am not racing the sun. I am part of the light." He focused on his feet, feeling the earth beneath him, noticing every pebble and every root that had tripped him before. He He began his descent back to the hut. Each step was a meditation. When the path became steep, he didn't panic. He simply adjusted his balance. When a branch brushed his shoulder, he didn't curse. He moved with it. He noticed that the water in the bowl stayed as still as a mirror, reflecting the vast, golden sky above. He was no longer a craftsman of clocks. He was becoming a student of the moment. When he finally reached the old sage, the sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the world in shades of violet and gold. Silas stood before the hut, holding the bowl. It was full to the brim. Not a single drop had been lost. He felt a strange sense of peace he had never known, a quiet strength that felt far more powerful than the restless energy he had carried all his life. The old sage stood up, his wooden staff clicking softly against the stone floor. He looked at the full bowl and then at Silas's calm face. "You have done what thousands could not," he whispered. "You stopped chasing the result and started honoring the process. You thought the water was your burden, but it was actually your teacher. Now, follow me into the heart of the willow." As they stepped inside the hollow trunk of the ancient tree, Silas gasped. Thousands of small, glowing hourglasses hung from the branches, each filled with golden sand. But in the very center, there was one that stood still. Its sand wasn't falling. "This," the sage said, pointing to the silent one, "is the heart of every man who has learned that time is not a master to be served, but a river to swim in." Silas reached out to touch the golden glass, but his hand stopped. He realized he no longer felt the desperate urge to grab it or control it. He asked, "Why is the sand not falling, master?" The sage replied, "Because for the man who is truly present, time does not run out. It expands. When you are in a hurry, you lose your life while trying to save it. When you are still, every second becomes an eternity of peace." The hermit then handed Silas a tiny, empty hourglass. "Your journey is not over, Silas. You must go back to your village. Your gift was never just making clocks. It was reminding people of the value of their moments. But remember, a clock only tells you where the sun is. Only your heart can tell you where your life is. Go now and build not for the deadline, but for the soul." Silas bowed deeply, a tear of gratitude tracking down his cheek. He felt lighter than he ever had. The weight of his ambition, which had once felt like a mountain on his shoulders, had vanished. He realized that the eternal hourglass wasn't a magical object to be found in a forest. It was a state of mind that he would now carry with him back to the world of men. As Silas began his walk back to the village, the forest no longer looked like a labyrinth of obstacles. It looked like a cathedral of wonders. He noticed the dew on the leaves, the intricate patterns of the spider webs, and the way the morning light sliced through the canopy. He wasn't rushing home. He was already home, in every single step he took. When Silas walked back into his village, something felt different. The air didn't feel heavy, and the noise of the market didn't irritate him. People noticed it too. The young man who used to push past everyone with a scowl was now moving with a gentle rhythm, nodding to the elders and smiling at the children. It was as if he was hearing a music that no one else could hear. He returned to his workshop, which was covered in dust and half-finished projects. Before, he would have felt a surge of anxiety seeing the pile of work. But now, he simply picked up a broom and began to clean. He didn't rush to finish. He enjoyed the sweep of the bristles and the way the sunlight hit the floor. He realized that the workshop wasn't just a place of labor, but a sanctuary of time. Word quickly spread that the restless watchmaker had returned. His old rival, a man named Marcus, came to mock him. "So, did you find the magic hourglass? Or did you just waste more time in the woods?" Marcus laughed. In the past, Silas would have snapped back with a sharp tongue. But now, he only looked at Marcus with eyes full of compassion, as if he understood the burden of Marcus's own hurry. "I found something better than a magic hourglass, Marcus," Silas said softly. "I found the moment." He then sat down at his bench and began to work on a new clock. He didn't set a timer. He didn't look at the sun's position. He simply picked up a tiny gear and placed it with the precision of a surgeon. His hands, once shaky with impatience, were now as steady as the mountains. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Silas worked on only one clock. People thought he had lost his mind. "You could have made 10 clocks by now," they whispered. But Silas wasn't listening to the whispers. He was listening to the heartbeat of the wood and the soul of the metal. He was crafting a masterpiece that wasn't meant to count the minutes, but to celebrate the beauty of existence. Finally, the day came. Silas placed the last crystal on the clock face. It was unlike anything the village had ever seen. It didn't tick-tock with a harsh noise. It hummed like a gentle lullaby. When people looked at it, they didn't feel the urge to run to their next task. They felt like stopping, breathing, and simply being alive. Silas had finally built the eternal hourglass within his own craft. News of Silas's extraordinary clock spread far beyond the village borders. People traveled for miles, not just to see the masterpiece, but to see the man who had found peace in a world of chaos. Silas didn't open a school or give long lectures. Instead, he simply invited people to sit in his workshop and listen to the silent spaces between the hums of his clocks. One day, a young apprentice came to him, breathless and sweating, much like Silas used to be. The boy cried, "Master, show me how to build such a clock in a month. My father's shop is failing, and I must hurry." Silas looked at the boy and didn't offer a tool. Instead, he offered a glass of water and said, "First, tell me what you see in the water while you drink it." The boy was confused, but as he sat in the silence of the workshop, the ticking of 100 clocks began to sound like a heartbeat rather than a countdown. Silas told him, "The world will always tell you to run, but if you run, you will never arrive." The clock is not a cage. It is a reminder that every second is a gift that disappears the moment you stop appreciating it. Slowly, the village began to change. The farmers didn't just plant seeds to harvest, they felt the soil. The weavers didn't just make cloth, they followed the dance of the thread. The hurry that had once plagued the streets like a fever began to break. People realized that being busy was often just a way of hiding from the beauty of being alive. Even Marcus, Silas's old rival, returned. This time, he didn't mock. He sat in a corner of the workshop for hours, watching Silas polish a single brass screw. Eventually, Marcus asked, "Is it ever too late to stop running, Silas?" Silas smiled and replied, "The best time to start was years ago. The second best time is right now, in this very breath." As the moon rose over the valley, Silas stood at his window. He realized that the eternal hourglass he had sought in the forest was now the very air he breathed. He wasn't just a man who measured time. He was a man who lived it. And in that realization, the small, empty hourglass the hermit had given him began to glow with a soft, eternal golden light. One afternoon, the sky over the valley turned a bruised purple, and the birds suddenly went silent. A storm unlike any other was brewing. The village elders whispered about the great flood of the past, as the winds began to howl like a wounded beast. While everyone else began to panic, running blindly to save their belongings, Silas stood at his porch, watching the clouds with a steady, unblinking gaze. The rain came down in a solid wall of water, and soon the river began to overflow. The village dam, old and weathered, started to groan under the pressure. If the dam broke, the entire valley would be swept away. The villagers were screaming, their movements chaotic and ineffective. In the middle of this madness, Silas realized that panic was a faster killer than the water. He knew what had to be done. Silas ran to the dam, not with the frantic speed of fear, but with the calculated precision of a master craftsman. He saw the critical point where the structure was failing. Others followed him, but they were trembling so hard they couldn't hold their tools. Silas raised his voice, not in a shout, but in a tone so calm it pierced through the roar of the storm. "Steady your hands," he said. "The water only wins if you let it rush through your mind first." Inspired by his stillness, the men began to work in a rhythmic line. Silas coordinated them with the same timing he used to build his clocks. He treated the disaster as a giant, complex machine that needed to be balanced. Every move was deliberate. No energy was wasted on useless shouting or fearful glances at the rising tide. Under his guidance, the chaos transformed into a focused, human wall of resistance. For hours, the battle between man and nature raged on. The water pushed with the weight of 1,000 giants, but the dam held. Silas's hands were bleeding and his muscles were screaming in pain, but his heart remained in that golden hour he had found in the forest. He didn't think about the hours of work left. He only thought about the single nail he was driving in at that very moment. As the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, the rain finally began to turn into a drizzle. The river subsided, retreating back into its banks. The village was saved. The men collapsed onto the mud, weeping with relief. Silas stood alone on the reinforced dam, looking at the rising sun. He realized that his clocks didn't just measure time. They had prepared him to survive the most critical seconds of his life. In the days following the storm, the village of Silas was no longer the same. The repair of the dam had done more than save their homes. It had repaired their spirits. People began to gather outside Silas's workshop every evening, not for clocks, but for guidance. They realized that the true danger wasn't the flood outside, but the storm of anxiety they carried within themselves every single day. Silas, now a hero in their eyes, remained the same humble watchmaker. He told them, "Do not praise me for the dam. Praise the silence that allowed me to see where the wood was weak. We all have a dam inside us. When you hurry, you create cracks. When you are still, you become unbreakable." He started teaching the young and the old how to breathe with the rhythm of the gears. Years passed like the gentle turning of a well-oiled wheel. Silas grew old, his hair turning as white as the mountain mist, but his eyes remained as bright as the morning sun. He had transformed his workshop into a sanctuary of time. It was said that anyone who entered his door feeling the weight of the world would leave feeling as light as a feather, simply by watching him work. One winter night, the same old hermit from the forest appeared at Silas's door. He looked exactly as he had decades ago, as if time had no power over him. He walked to the center of the shop and looked at Silas's masterpiece, the humming clock. "You have built more than a clock, Silas," the hermit whispered. You have built a bridge between the temporary and the eternal." Silas reached for the small, empty hourglass the hermit had given him so long ago. It was now glowing with a blinding golden light. "Master," Silas said, "I finally understand. The sand doesn't fall because there is no later and no before. There is only the beauty of now." The hermit nodded and touched the glass, and suddenly, the workshop was filled with a warm, ancient music. The next morning, the villagers found the workshop empty. The clocks were all still humming their gentle lullaby, and the master's tools were neatly laid out on the bench. Silas was gone, but he had left a gift for everyone. On his main workbench, he had carved a single sentence: "Time is not a thief that steals your life. It is the canvas upon which you paint your soul. Paint slowly." Word of Silas's departure spread quickly, but there was no mourning in the village. Instead, there was a profound sense of gratitude. The villagers gathered at the village square, where a large, simple sundial had been placed. They realized that Silas hadn't just left them clocks. He had left them a new way of seeing the world, one breath and one heartbeat at a time. The young apprentice, who was once so frantic, now sat at Silas's old workbench. He wasn't rushing to finish orders. He was teaching a new generation of children how to listen to the silence before they started to build. He told them that a masterpiece is not born from speed, but from the love you pour into the minutes that everyone else tries to throw away. Years turned into decades, and the village became a legend known as the Valley of Peace. Travelers from all over the world came to learn how to live without the fever of hurry. They found that in this village, time didn't feel like a ticking bomb, but like a vast, welcoming ocean. Silas's spirit seemed to live on in every balanced stone and every steady hand. But the greatest miracle was the small golden hourglass Silas left behind. It was placed in the village temple, and it never ran out of sand. It served as a constant reminder that for those who are truly present, time is infinite. Whenever a villager felt overwhelmed or anxious, they would visit the glass, take a deep breath, and find their center once again. Even the modern world eventually reached the edges of the valley. Great machines and tall buildings rose in the distance. But the people of Silas's village never lost their way. They used technology as a tool, not as a master. They proved that you can live in a fast world with a slow heart, and that is the ultimate secret to surviving the chaos of any era. Now, think about your own life. How many moments have you missed because you were rushing to the next one? How many sunsets have you ignored because you were staring at a deadline? We are all watchmakers, crafting the story of our lives. The question is, are you building a cage of seconds or a sanctuary of memories? Remember the lesson of the water in the bowl. The faster you run, the more you lose. The stillness you seek isn't at the end of the race. It's in the shoes you're wearing right now. You don't need a magic forest or an ancient hermit to find your golden hour. You only need to give yourself permission to stop, even if it's just for a single breath. As you move forward from this story, carry Silas's peace with you. Let your work be your meditation. Let your relationships be your sanctuary. And when the world demands that you hurry, remember the old man under the willow tree and the young man who learned to walk without spilling a single drop of his precious life. Life is a collection of nows. If you are not here now, you will never be there then. Mastery over time isn't about productivity, it's about presence. It's about looking at the person in front of you, the task in your hands, and the sky above you, and saying, "This is enough." This moment is my masterpiece. This journey through the valley of stillness ends here, but your personal journey is just beginning. Every morning you wake up, you are given a fresh bowl of water. How will you carry it today? Will you run until it's empty, or will you walk until you are full? The choice, as always, has always been yours to make. We hope this story of Silas has brought a moment of peace to your busy day. If his journey inspired you to slow down and appreciate the beauty around you, then our mission is complete. Your time is the most valuable thing you own. Thank you for choosing to spend these precious minutes here with us today. If you enjoyed this cinematic experience and want to explore more stories of wisdom, stoicism, and mental strength, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue to create these deep, meaningful journeys for seekers of peace all around the world. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. We have many more legends to share, and we would love to have you as part of our growing community of mindful souls. Leave a comment below and let us know, what is one thing you are going to slow down for today? Also, check out our other videos on the screen right now for more ancient wisdom that you can apply to your modern life. Whether it's mastering your emotions or building an unbreakable mindset, we are here to walk this path with you. Every step counts, and we are honored to be part of yours. Remember, the world may be in a hurry, but you don't have to be. Your pace is your power. Your silence is your strength. Go out there today and be the master of your own moments, just as Silas became the master of his. Until next time, stay present, stay peaceful, and stay legendary.